I'm Diana. John said that. I was adopted when I was a week old by the most wonderful parents. They were, and still are, amazing people, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. I love them so much, in fact, that I have been fiercely and passionately protective of them as my real parents. And when you grow up as an adopted kid, everyone always asks you, like, have you met your real mom? And I'd say, yeah, her name's Linda. I live with her. Thanks. And I'd get really snarky. And along with that, I did not allow myself to believe, and I did not believe that there could be any baggage or difficulty that could come from my being adopted, because my story is such a positive one. It's an ideal one, really. I was a week old. I don't remember it. I wasn't hurt. I felt that if there were brokenness or hurt or sadness to my story, somehow it robbed it of its beauty. And I felt that if I acknowledged anything negative that came from my story, it would be ungrateful and that it would be unloving to my parents. Despite my awesome parents and having a lot of great friends, I still wrestled with insecurity and this near constant background fear of inadequacy. I grew up in and around the church, and in my context, the good girls were the quiet and gentle ones. And I am not that. I tend to be loud and, thank you, Vicky, loud and obnoxious. My parents are gentle, quiet, unemotional people, and I am what is best described as a roller coaster. I once overheard two people talking about my friend Heidi and I, and one could never remember which one was which, and the other responded really quickly, oh, that's easy. Heidi's the pretty one and Diana's the loud one. And that pretty much characterized how I moved through life, the pretty girl's loud friend. I used it to my advantage, and I played to my strengths, and I managed to experience some success and a measure of confidence. I scored a wicked awesome husband, and I have 3 great kids, but in the back of my mind, I always kind of wondered, am I really enough, and do people actually like being around me? 2 years ago, I made the decision to reach out to my birth mother. Sorry, guys, I told you I was a roller coaster. You were warned. I'd always felt respect for her and a gratitude towards her for giving me life. I'd prayed for her, but I'd never felt a longing or a need to know her. Part of that is my fierce protectiveness of my parents. 2 years ago, though, I felt compelled to tell her that she'd made a good choice when she chose my parents, to ease her mind and let her know that I'm okay and that I'm grateful. To be real, I did this super naively, not at all prepared for what emotions might come up, mainly because I'd convinced myself that I didn't have any emotions about it. I had a friend who helped me confirm that the lady I'd found was in fact my birth mother, and on April 1st, I sent her an email. She wrote me back a few days later and told me how she'd wondered about me my whole life and how excited she was to connect with me. She wanted to meet, and we did a week later. I brought my friends, she brought her mom. We talked in person for a number of hours, and it was fine. She made a public, excited post on Facebook. A couple weeks later, she came to Ottawa and introduced me to her son, my older half-brother, and his little boy, who's the same age as my youngest. We chatted and added each other on Facebook, because that's what you do. And everything seemed great. And after a while, though, I noticed that it always had to be me who would send a message. She would write back sometimes not. Over the next 6 months, I never learned anything new about her. She was a closed book. She came to Ottawa a few times, but she didn't reach out. I'd see the pictures on Facebook later. She went from wanting me to meet her whole family to being uninterested in me. I wrote a message to my half-brother asking if he wanted to pursue a friendship, and he just never replied. I really hate that feature on Messenger that lets you see when people read your messages, because you can't pretend they just never read it. Without realizing it and without being prepared for it, my greatest fear had just been realized. My birth mother, a woman who grew me, birthed me, picked my family for me, said she wondered about me my whole life. A person who should love me, met me, got to know me a bit, and then decided a relationship with me wasn't worth the effort. My half-brother, who apparently had spent his life telling people that he had a sister he just hadn't met yet, met me and then rejected me. I was absolutely crushed. I think I could have handled it if they'd never been interested in meeting me in the first place. But having them be so excited and then indifferent was awful. It felt like all those background fears had finally found their answer, and it was, yes, Diana, it's true, you are not good enough. You're okay for a bit, but you're not really worth knowing, and whatever they imagined about you is better than what you really are. I was so hurt, and then I was so angry. I'd been fine. I had felt no need, no lack, no hurt. And because I'd felt that God wanted me to extend the grace of knowing she'd made a good choice to this woman, he had opened me up to a world of deep hurt that I had no idea what to do with. I was reeling, and I really felt alone. I couldn't talk about it with others because they just couldn't really understand. And honestly, I couldn't really express it before breaking down and sobs or getting really angry. This is after a lot of work, guys. This is really good for me. I've gotten mad at God before. My brother struggles deeply with addictions and mental health issues. I've had friends walk through sickness and death. I had wrestled and pled to God before, but it was always on behalf of somebody else. This was the first time I felt so deeply hurt and angry and betrayed just for myself. Even though I was hurt and angry, I figured if God is who he says he is, then I can come at him with that and he can take it, rather than turning away from him and keeping it as a burden on my own shoulders. So I did. I cried and yelled and punched stuff, and I ugly snot bubble cried, and I prayed, and I read the Bible, and I talked to a counselor. There's a song by Andy Gullahorn, and the chorus goes like this: if you want to love someone, search their heart for where it's broken. Find the cracks and pour your heart in if you want to love someone. God did that for me through some verses in the Bible and Psalms. In chapter 27, he says, even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. And in chapter 18, it says, he reached down from heaven and rescued me. He drew me out of deep waters. He led me to a place of safety. He rescued me because he delights in me. That was me. I felt like I was sinking in deep waters, and he rescued me. And not because I did something to be good enough, but because the heart of God is that he's a rescuer, a loving father who delights in his children and holds them close. Not because of who they are or who they turned out to be, but because of who he is, and he never changes. I can honestly say my biggest fear was realized, and I'm okay. It sucks. It still hurts, and I have some baggage to deal with, and I'm figuring out how to do that. But I'm figuring out how to do that from the safety of a loving God who rescued me because he delights in me. He sees me, all of me, and he knows me. And instead of saying not interested, he invites me in closer. So that's me, Diana, loud, obnoxious, walking a bit wounded, but fully known and fully loved.